You're listening to Keeping It 100 with Mel and Bruce, sponsored by the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas. What they see is what they'll be. I'm Mel Tiller, your host. I'm thrilled to be with you today. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have an interesting guest. She is a poet, an author, a spoken word artist, a film producer, a creative consultant, a content creator, and a songwriter. Her name is Yemaja Jubilee. Yemaja, welcome to the show.
Thank you very, very much, Mel. And it's an honor and a privilege to be on your show. And coming from Vegas.
Coming from Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen, Yemaja lives in Richmond, Virginia. And some of you all know I'm from Emporia, Virginia. So today is Virginia Day.
All right, now Virginia got it going on.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So listen, you are an author and you have written several books. Tell me about the books that you've written.
Well, the first book that I wrote is called Couldn't Keep It to Myself, which is a book of 20 poems with art to go with each poem in each section. And those poems that I wrote, I started writing when I was 16 years old. And I kept them for a long, long, long time before I published them. And the first poem that I wrote, which I'll be glad to read to you, is that where have all the Christian folk gone? Because I was raised by a Baptist minister in a small rural community near Farmville, Danville, Virginia.
All right, very familiar with that area. Yes.
Yes. So that's my first book, and the first book became a stage play, and it was selected by the Black Film Festival, the Black Theater Festival in Washington, D.C. It was presented in Washington, D.C.
Oh,
and
fabulous.
The play that came from the book won the Acts of Faith Awards here in Richmond for having such a wonderful message that was in the poetry, and it was presented at Unity Church here in Bon Air, here in Richmond, Virginia. That play from their book went a long ways, and it was directed by and co-directed by Elroy Boyd III, who is my partner and a professor at Virginia State College.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Professor at Virginia State College, a little history. My uncle, Dr. Thomas Law, was the president of Virginia State College for a while. So I'm thrilled to be talking about that and have an opportunity to mention his name. He was a great, great guy. So let's talk about your poetry. Your poetry, I'd like for you to tell me which poem, out of all the poems that you've written, which one just kind of stands out and happens to be, it moves you spiritually, let's say more so than the rest of them, because when we create like this, there's always one or two that kind of rises to the top that winds up being our favorite. Give me that one.
That poem is Where Have All the Christian Folk Gone? They sure ain't gone to no heavenly home. Because that was the first poem. At 16. You know, as I said before, being raised by a minister and in church all the time, you get to see a whole lot of things.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right, let me hear the poem. Let us hear the poem.
Okay.
That is a great title. And for those of us who grew up in the country in the Baptist church, we know exactly what you're talking about.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Where have all the Christian folk gone? Let me tell y'all, they sure ain't going to no heavenly home. Why, Brother Joe, I saw you at Sister Cece's last night, coming out the back door, pouring all over Brother Sam's wife. Oh, by the way, Brother Sam, wait just a pea-picking minute. It was you I saw going into the Drake's Branch ABC store. If the truth be told, you be becoming a regular customer, and you've been buying more and more and more. I see you carrying those even larger brown bags. Why, they're larger than before. Some of y'all be thinking now, Sister Sally been having Bible study classes at her house on Wednesday nights. Why, that's just a lie, I tell you. A sin and a shame, I tell you too. I'd be willing to bet that that ain't all she's done in Jesus' name. Where have all the Christian folk gone? They sure ain't gone to no heavenly home. Brother Earl, I saw you and the Reverend Right Shaky Dude and the highly esteemed Reverend Lackadoo shoving money into Sister Sally's apron pocket. When they be coming out of their house, they be laughing and singing and saying all them dirty words. That's what I heard, that I dare not repeat. Like she sure know how to make a man feel the Holy Ghost from his head to his feet. And they be coming back to her house every single week. Where have all the Christian folk gone? They sure ain't gone to no heavenly home. Now, Sister Mary Alice, her be known as a shy and fragile thing in the church social circle. She was widowed at a very early age in life. But the other church ladies been whispering behind her back. Y'all know that that ain't right. They be saying she be slipping and she be cocktail sipping at the Manziel Bop, better known in our area as the Pink Pussy Haven in our neck of the woods. Where have all the Christian folk gone? They sure ain't gone to no heavenly home. Then some of y'all be deacons be sitting in them church pews on Sunday morning saying, well, in the amen corner. While the sister be singing, Lord have mercy on me. Lord have mercy on me. Well, y'all done heard it all. And I'll end just like I started. Where have all the Christian folk gone? They sure ain't gone to no heavenly home. I
Oh, that is brilliant. For those individuals who grew up in that area, we know exactly what you are talking about. Oh.
At 16, I saw all this, okay?
At 16, yes. Oh, we definitely knew what was going on. Oh, that is fantastic.
And the juke joint was in my neighborhood. The juke joint that I saw all these people going in and out of.
Yes.
It was in my neighborhood.
Oh, okay. All right. Now we had a juke joint in our neighborhood. Jet Longs. One way in, one way out.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
That's the way it was back then. Now,
yes.
So we're kind of giving a history lesson, and so we're talking a bit about how life was in the church. Also, I understand that your father was a big-time farmer. Well, my grandfather was also a farmer. So tell me what it was like growing up on the farm.
Well, growing up on the farm, I developed an innate relationship with Mother Earth because my mother grew everything, canned everything.
Yes.
Eggs, whatever we had, it was canned or preserved. There were certain times of the year that you harvested potatoes, that you harvested black-eyed peas, and we ate all these things. So growing up, I learned to follow the seasons of the year. And whatever she planted, like she would go to the cannery with a lot of people from the women from the neighborhood and can sweet potatoes to go in the sweet potato pies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She would can peaches to make peach cobblers, right?
Yes.
And all of this stuff was seasonal. So I learned to follow the seasons. And the main thing was I learned how to make a meal out of nothing. All right.
Oh, yes. So listen, my grandfather also had a big farm, and he grew everything, everything. He only went to town once a year, and that was to buy things like salt, sugar, pepper, that kind of thing. Everything else was grown on the farm: tomatoes, potatoes, pears, apples, and there was a special time of year that we would call hog killing time.
Yes.
Hog killing time. Okay. So tell me about hog killing time in Farmville.
Well, hog killing time in Saxe, Virginia was like this. There was a certain number of people in the neighborhood that would get together once a year,
Mhm.
and each the black men had tasks that were assigned specifically, like the butchering. One man had all these knives and tools that he would carry in his tool bag. It wasn't like some fancy tool bag. There might have been just a guana sack bag. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
And he would have his knives in that. And then one man had a trough that was made out of wood. They built the trough that they skinned the pigs in. All right.
Mhm.
And we raised pigs. Like we probably had maybe about 6 pigs or 8 pigs. And then other people in the neighborhood had pigs as well. And they would kill them and bring them, and they do it all there together on my dad's land, right there in the back of the house.
Yes.
And then the women had chores that they had to do. They had this cast iron pot that they cut up the Midland, they call it the Midland meat, right? And it would be put into that pot to make the lard, which they used to make bread with, which they used, that was the shortening that they used. And there was somebody that would clean the chitlins and the moth, and then that man that I was talking about earlier carved the ham so beautifully. And as they did, they would take coat hangers and put it in, and we had a smokehouse.
Yes,
And
yes, yes. I remember my grandfather had a smokehouse. Yes.
and then the grinder for the sausage that was made was one of those that you did with your hand. You had to grind them. We had to turn it as kids. They would put the lean meat and the pork meat, and my mother had these spices that she would season the sausage with, and they would put it in these stockings and stuff and hang it up in the smokehouse as well. All of that stuff, they threw nothing away. And the hog heads we ate on New Year's Day, all right?
Yes.
And black-eyed peas or whatever you want to go with it, but they were salted as well. Hog killing day was a time that the neighborhood came together, the men doing their specific tasks and the women doing that. And then one woman would be in the kitchen taking the fresh liver or whatever, sometimes even the brains, and they would put the brains in eggs, okay?
Yes.
And then they would fry the liver, and they would make liver and gravy for the meal for everybody to eat, and mashed potatoes, which were white potatoes that came out of the garden. And that was the meal that everybody that was in that process, that neighborhood process, would come and sit at the table and eat together during their day.
So let's talk about this history. Let's talk about this history. My grandfather had 9 kids, and he would, in every single year, he would kill a hog for each one of his children and their families. And so during hog killing time, all of the children who lived in the area would come to his farm, and we would kill the hog and do exactly the same thing that you're talking about doing. And they would prepare and package the meat from these hogs, and then every one of the children would take their package home with them and live off of that for the year. Those who lived away, when they came home to visit, their package was there, and they would take that package. They look forward to it. They take that package back home and live off of it for the entire year. And what was so interesting is that the narrative during that time was that Black folks were not very smart, that Black folks were lazy and not very industrious. My grandfather, my uncles, these guys were absolutely brilliant. They were farmers, and they grew literally every single thing that they ate. They made sure that their families could live off of what they grew from the farm all year long. It was absolutely amazing. the talents, and you're talking about the different talents and skills that each one of the guys had. It was absolutely amazing how smart these guys were when you compare that to the narrative that they were not very bright at all. And so you've given everybody a great, great, great history lesson here. So I want to thank you for that.
Yeah, and one of the other things we even in our neighborhood, there was a lady that lived in a log cabin, and she had one of those bells, like you ring the bell.
Yes.
And she would ring it every day at 12, between 12 and 1. And if you were hungry and you didn't have any food to eat, the sense of community, you go sit under her table, you ate her meal, she didn't charge you a dime. And then her gift, one of her gifts was making butter. And she would take the milk, the buttermilk, churn it, and those old-fashioned churns, no electric churn.
Yes. If you all have, and let's say, it's very difficult to explain that, but my grandfather would make butter, and he had the churn. He also would make butter. He had a jar, and sometimes he'd just shake the buttermilk, and he'd make this butter in a jar. Let me tell you something. If you have not seen how a farm operates and how they create every single thing, they grew the chickens.
Yes.
And we had plenty of eggs. When you wanted a chicken, my grandmother would go out back, grab a chicken, wring the neck.
Yeah, wring the neck, wring the neck. Yeah. One time on our farm, some of the ladies had to go off to town, and my aunt, I forget what her name was now, but she was assigned to do dinner.
Yes.
All right. And they told us they wanted smothered chicken for dinner. All right. So she went and got a tub and put chickens under the tub and smothered them to kill them, not thinking how to cook them because she didn't know what it was.
For those of you who did not grow up on the farm, let me tell you something. Now, the work was intensive. There was a lot of physical work, but you had to be smart. You had to be really smart to provide for 9 different families all year long, not have to go to the store to buy meats, to buy potatoes. Didn't have to go to the store. Let me tell you something, nothing. They were brilliant. And the sense of community, we took care of our own community. You didn't see anybody walking around homeless. When something happened and somebody needed a place to stay, or somebody needed a meal, there was always a way. The community got together, they figured it out, and they took care of each other. Wonderful, wonderful history lesson about how things were done back during that time. So you are also a film producer. So talk to us about the films that you have produced.
Well, one of the first movies that I worked on was Black Wall Street: The Money, the Music, and the People, with Rebecca Pierce, RLP Productions, and my partner Elroy Boyd III, and his mother, who was 90-some years old at the time. We wrote the music. We wrote a song, and I wrote a song called Eloise, okay, a blues song. and it was about Eloise and Hunchy, okay, because Hunchy was the name of all the songs that I write come from the community that I lived in. And then the other song was Black Wall Street: The Money, Music, and the People. We talked to Miss Boyd, who was Roy's mother, and we wrote the music for the piece, wrote all the music for that particular film. And then doing different stages of the production, it was Rebecca's idea, okay? And because we were in writing plays, we supported each other in whatever new project that came out, because I have a skill that she don't have, and she has a skill that I don't have. So anyway, that I'm good at writing music, and I'm good at finding film locations, and good at finding venues after the film was completed where we could show it to everybody, because I'm very good at event planning and resources for it to be shown to a larger audience.
Well, I'll tell you what, I am so interested in this. We'll have to have you come back and we'll speak, and we'll dedicate a whole show to that film, Black Wall Street, why it happened, why it's important, all of that. We'll have to have you back to talk about that. So tell me this: you grew up with a Baptist father, okay,
Yes.
and you grew up in a Baptist community, and I know what that means. That means that there is only one religion, and it's called Baptist. Okay,
It's called Baptist.
that's right.
Yes.
Anything else does not exist. Anything else is not quite correct, because those people and Baptists. This is us. This is what we believe in. So how did you wind up becoming as spiritual as you are? Because there's a difference between one who is spiritual and one who is religious.
Yeah, well, that's a very good question, because religiosity and spirituality are like two sides of a coin to me.
Yes.
And I was raised with religiosity, and that's not to condemn any of that, because my mother was very spiritual, because she was so grounded to the earth. You know, she understood the cycles and everything, and the power of prayer. And my mother played the piano, and I was required to sing in the church choir. All right.
Yes,
And
that's right. Yeah.
I had to say, and my brother John Edward played the piano by ear. Okay. He didn't have the first music lesson, and he played all the songs that I used to sing. But growing up, there was a lot of religiosity. I got a lot of the first choir dress that I had to wear was purple. And being a Baptist, the choir director told us we had to have long purple dresses, so that when you sit in the choir stand, men can't look up your dress. Okay. That's part of the Baptist in the church. You couldn't wear short dresses, and the choir stand wasn't even up where you could look up. It was just down on the ground. So they put a curtain up over our legs in the front, and you had to have on a long purple dress. And being Baptist, I had to go to the mourner's bench at a certain age. Okay. And which I tell you, I faked it, because I got tired of hearing that when you get 12 years old, that you have to take the burden for your own sins, right?
Yes.
So I faked it, because I got tired of hearing that I was a sinner and that you had to go to the mourner's bench. I faked the whole thing, and that's in my second book. Part of that narrative I put in one of my second books. But I respect that, and that to me was, I was worshiping a God in the sky, all right, that sat on the throne, that was taking down every word I said, everything that I did, and I was supposed to honor your mother and your father. You only get married one time, and you clean only and obey your husband. That was what I was raised with, all right? And what made it so cool, well, it wasn't cool at the time, but one of the times that I did get divorced and I got pregnant, the most humiliating thing that I ever had to do was go back and ask the church pardon for my sins.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had to do it before the whole church. All right. That to me was just shaming. It really was. To flip the coin to the spiritual part of it, when I came out of that and I moved away from Sachs, and I graduated I went to Virginia Union for a while, and then I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University. I found that there were other outlets of ways to owning God, to make it a more personal. They tell you to let Jesus come and be your savior and personalize, but it never did resonate with me. So what I started doing, because I became an alcohol and drug counselor, I started working 12-step programs. All right. My first 12-step Al-Anon meeting was a class assignment, and they had the 12 steps. And it said, one of the steps says, you came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then that way I made a list of everything that God had been and what I desired God to be to me. All right. Then I made a decision to turn my life and my will over to the care of God, as I understood God. And that was my doorway to spirituality, because I had the freedom to strive and the freedom to be and to have God, relationship with God, not somewhere sitting in the sky. But then I came to believe that God was in me. And today, to fast forward with that, I have listened to, practiced Buddhism, whatever you want to call it, new
Yes.
thoughts, all of that. And I kept what I liked from my beginning, and I take what I like from each one. And now I have spiritual practice, which one is forest based, because I was raised on a farm. That ability to go into nature and appreciate nature, Mother Earth, is a very spiritual thing to me. I hug trees. I walk barefooted just about every single day. And that's spiritual to me. And I feel closer to what my concept is of what is the infinite creator of multiverses, not just universes, but
Yes.
the multiverse. And I know that it resides, infinite essence, what I say, love above and love below, and through my heart, love does flow.
I love that. Listen, you've been so gracious with your time. What would you like to leave our listening audience with?
I would like to leave them with two things. One is BYOT, bring your own truth. All right.
I love
Not
that.
not somebody else's opinion, expectations. Bring your own truth. And in order to bring your own truth, know your core values and your belief, and watch who you hang around. Number
Yes.
two, bring your own voice. All right. When you bring your own voice from in and from your heart and not from your head, leave your ego out. Bring your own voice and own your power, because we all are unique. We have a unique that is given to us by the Creator. Voice it, bring it, be it, do it, and be, breathe, and let it be. And so it is. Ashe, ashe.
That is absolutely wonderful. You've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Yemaja Jubilee. She has given us a wonderful history lesson. You've learned about the farm. You've learned about spirituality. She's fantastic. We will have to have her back on again, all the way from Richmond, Virginia. You heard it here on Keeping It 100 with Mel and Bruce, sponsored by the 100 Black Men of Las Vegas. What they see is what they'll be. And I'm Mel Tiller. Until next time, be sure you keep it 100.